Welcome to Dark Mirror, where real horrors come alive. Tonight, for Halloween, we bring three real stories with a terrifying twist. One that happened on Halloween night, just like this. After hearing it, you might never look at Halloween the same way again. Make sure to stay until the end. This could happen anywhere, even in your own neighborhood. It was a chilly October night in a small town. Halloween decorations glowing on every porch. Families were out trick-or-treating, laughter filling the streets. In one house, 13-year-old Jamie was left home alone, her parents just out for a quick errand, trusting she'd be safe for an hour. When the doorbell rang, Jamie assumed it was more trick-or-treaters. She grabbed the candy bowl, opened the door, and found a tall figure in a skeleton costume. No bag, no words, just silence. Unnerved, she handed him some candy and quickly closed the door, feeling a chill in the air. Minutes passed. Jamie returned to her movie, but a sense of unease lingered. She glanced at the window. There it was, that same skeleton mask, staring back at her from the darkness of the front lawn. Frozen, she watched as it turned and disappeared around the house. Suddenly, she heard a rattling at the back door. Jamie grabbed her phone and called her parents, voice trembling just as the doorknob began to turn. She bolted upstairs, locked herself in her bedroom, and dialed 911, whispering to the operator as footsteps echoed below. She hid in her closet, barely breathing. The footsteps grew louder, slowly approaching her room. Whispered voices on the police line kept her calm, but every second felt like an hour. Suddenly, she heard a banging on her bedroom door, followed by heavy silence. Had he left? Or was he waiting just outside? Just when Jamie thought she couldn't take it anymore, voices erupted downstairs. Shouts! More footsteps! Police! She heard them wrestling with someone in the hallway. The terror was finally over. The skeleton man had been caught trying to open her bedroom door. When the mask came off, he was just a stranger, not a neighbor, nor anyone she'd ever seen. That Halloween became a night she never forgot. Though her parents rushed home and hugged her tight, Jamie slept with the lights on for weeks. The neighborhood had always seemed safe. But sometimes, real monsters walk among us, wearing ordinary masks. On Holloway Lane, where every house had the careful, cheerful decorations of the living, there stood one porch that had not been touched for years. The jack-o'-lanterns there were carved deep into the grain of the wood. Time had softened their features into hollow, patient faces. A boy, not quite a child anymore, 18 by his mother's quiet counting, walked the sidewalk with a single paper bag for candy. He was the sort of teenager who still liked costumes because costumes made promises. For an hour, you could be someone else. He moved slower than the other kids. Holloway Lane had a way of drawing the night inward. He stopped in front of the untouched porch and stared. The house's windows were black mirrors. He could see himself reflected thin and nervous in the glass, hair sticking up under his witch's hat. His name was Eli. Eli circled the house by impulse. The gate squeaked when he pushed it. At the garden edge, where weeds had won years ago, there was an envelope nailed to the gatepost in place of a nameplate. No stamp, no name. Only an elegant script, "Come home." Inside, a single photograph fell into his palm, a picture of a small child on a pumpkin-strewn porch, grinning with a gap-toothed smile. The child's eyes were familiar. Eli swallowed. He remembered that smile. He remembered the warm kitchen and the smell of braised onions and raspberry jam. He remembered a house he had stopped visiting one November. At the bottom of the photograph, in the same ink as the envelope, a time, midnight, tonight. He should have left the photograph on the gate and joined the other kids, but the word home had weight to it, and Eli felt heavy in the place where a decision sits. He walked up the porch steps. The front door opened without resistance, as if it had been expecting him for a long time. The inside smelled of a sugar the house kept even in its emptiness, a sugar stiffened into candle wax and old paper. The hallway held shadows like people waiting. Eli's costume felt foolish and thin against the memory that pooled in those rooms. He remembered running through these corridors when he was small, the floorboards slick with rain and laughter. He remembered he had left a sweater by the window the last time. The house took his breath with a polite ache. The living room had a couch with fabric worn in the exact shape of someone who used to sit and read there. A television sat under a sheet as if waiting for a message to wake it. On the coffee table, A bowl of candy remained, not stale, unnaturally fresh. A single note lay beside it for the last trick or treater. When Eli reached for the bowl, he felt watched. He turned, and for the first time, the house showed a presence beyond its memory. A child's figure sat in the armchair, its outline bright, as if lit from within, not solid. More an absence framed by light. It wore the same gap-toothed smile from the photograph. "You're late," it said in a voice like dry leaves. Eli's reply caught in his throat. The figure patted the empty space on the sofa with small, careful motions. "I was waiting," it said. "You promised." The ghost figure explained the rules as if reading from a board game. Finish one last trick, stay until sunrise, bring a bag. If the trick was performed truthfully, gifts would follow. If not, the house would take what it needed. Eli should have left. A sensible child would have fled. Instead, he sat. Questions pressed at him about how the house remembered him, about why the photograph had found him. The ghost smiled, and in the smile was the memory of being loved and then abandoned, and the hunger that grew from that space. "What game?" Eli asked. "A returning," the child said. "A taking, a letting go. Tonight, Holloway Lane feeds the lonely." They walked into a hallway lined with mirrors, not ordinary mirrors, but tall, old-fashioned glass framed with twisting vines. In each mirror, Eli saw himself at different ages, 5, 10, 15, older. Some mirrors showed him with his father, smiling, some with his mother knitting, one with a girl he'd once liked, both of them laughing. The mirrors did not lie. They wanted him to remember. When he looked deeper, a shadow pressed against the glass from the inside, trying to push through. The shadow had the shape of every person who had come through those doors and never left. One mirror showed an empty place where a body should have sat. Within it floated the child's grin, then a number, names carved into memory. "You can take one thing back," the ghost child said, "but only one." Eli's heart chose before his head. He thought of all the nights he had not been there for his mother's small griefs, the time he forgot the last birthday call. He thought of the sweater he had never claimed. The house hummed, the mirror breathed. Eli reached forward and touched the glass where his mother's reflection smiled. The mirror was cold as winter and wet as a mouth. One Halloween night, 12-year-old Tyler and his friends set out to explore their quiet suburban town. The group planned to visit every house, hoping for full-size candy bars and new adventures. Excitement built as dusk fell, the street filled with laughs and tiny superheroes, witches, and zombies. At the end of Birch Hollow stood the Peterson house, abandoned for years, its porch paint chipped, windows dark. Legends circulated, a recluse, unexplained noises, nails sealing the upstairs shut. Every year, kids dared each other to approach, but most chickened out at the gate. The trio, Tyler, Emily, and Jamie, walked up. On a broken chair sat a bowl of cinnamon sweets, a shaky note. "Take one. Happy Halloween." Tyler reached for a candy. The porch light snapped off. Panic. Then, light returned, but the bowl was gone. Upstairs, a window creaked open. In the upstairs window, a pale face pressed against the glass, smiling, eyes wide and unblinking. The curtain dropped abruptly. The children bolted, adrenaline pushing them through the fog. Police later found the house empty, but a disturbing mistake lingered. The sweets were red capsules, pills, not candy. Similar tales echoed in other neighborhoods. Doors left open, masked figures beckoning from vacant homes. Survivors would recall a man in black chasing them through yards, vanishing at the street's edge. Every Halloween, his silhouette returned, just closer than last year. After Birch Hollow was condemned, builders found a mummified body beneath the floorboards, facing the window. Police said it had been there over a decade. Yet several witnesses insisted the person they saw grinning through that window couldn't have been the corpse beneath the boards. That year, kids stopped trick-or-treating near Birch Hollow. Yet every Halloween, someone would place a bowl of candy on the old porch. The same note appeared, scrawled and cracked, its message harder to read, but always ending with "Happy Halloween." The legend grew. As teenagers, Tyler's friends dared one last visit. They saw an upstairs curtain twitch, someone waving. This time, when police searched, They found fresh footprints inside, dust disturbed, and a white mask left on a windowsill. One officer claimed to see someone in black crossing the yard. When trick-or-treating ended, Tyler's group gathered at their own homes, swearing off Birch Hollow forever. But late at night, when fog crept in, Tyler looked from his window and saw a tall figure, still head tilted, just watching. Each year, it would seem a little closer,